everybody. Welcome to Live Interactive English. This is Shane.
And this is Karen. Today we are looking at day 1 of Views of Jade Mountain. So we're talking about going hiking today.
Oh, right.
Well, do you like going hiking?
Well, I love going into the mountains. I do love going hiking. It's been a while since I have gone hiking, and I do miss it. I mostly like to hike I live pretty close to Yangming Mountain.
Okay, very close.
Yeah, and I live, I live in Hongshuling. And Hongshuling is pretty close. It's Danshui, basically. And across there is Guanyin Mountain.
Okay.
And I've done a lot of hiking through the trails and the mountains in Guanyin Mountain. And I've done quite a lot of hiking, and I do enjoy it. I enjoy getting out with nature, breathing in the fresh air, and I often do it because I want to get some exercise. And I see by the way that you're smiling that maybe you don't really like hiking.
Okay. I have to be honest. I don't mind the easier hiking trails. I like to be in the nature, but I like the beach more than being in the mountains.
Okay.
However, though, because there are some difficult hiking trails that I have been to before, and it could be really, really tiring because the steps can be very steep.
A little bit dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah. So the easier hiking trails are okay. And I know we have quite a few of that in Taipei.
Yeah, there's a lot of good hiking in Taipei, but there's also good hiking in other parts of Taiwan, which I think we are about to get to. So let's get into today's lesson.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, I started to do more hiking. One place I had long wanted to visit was Jade Mountain. At almost 4,000 meters above sea level, it is the highest mountain in Taiwan, so I was sure it would have some amazing views. On the first day of my first trip up Jade Mountain, I was surprised by how much easier the walk was than most of the other big hikes I had been on. The paths were gentle and steady, with few sudden steep slopes. My friends and I spent this day trekking through beautiful forests until we reached Paiyun Lodge, where we spent the night.
So we're looking at day 1 of Views of Jade Mountain. We were talking about hiking, and for people who really love hiking, I think their ultimate goal is to climb the Jade Mountain.
Oh, really? Is that like one of the
most difficult hike, I would say?
Oh, okay. All right. And
have you ever been?
I have never been.
Okay,
No.
well, you're a hiker, so you might enjoy it.
Okay. All right. Well, so this story, or what we're about to read, is in the first person, which means that the person who is writing this is speaking about their experience, right? Okay, so let's begin. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I started to do more hiking. One place I had long wanted to visit was Jade Mountain. Yeah, so I do think once the pandemic hit, we wanted to kind of stay away from people. And
social distance.
Social distancing. And one good way to social distance yourself is to go into a more remote area.
That's right. Like
into the mountains where you can be in the fresh air and not be enclosed with a lot of other people. So a pandemic, we had the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think everybody knows COVID-19. But what does this word pandemic mean? It means when there is a pandemic, there is a disease that is spreading to many people across the world all at the same time.
That's right. It's a very scary thing.
Yeah. So for example, the disease was spreading quickly and people were afraid there would be a pandemic.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, well, let's continue. At almost 4,000 meters above sea level, it is the highest mountain in Taiwan. So I was sure it would have some amazing views. Wow, 4,000 meters above sea level. So I guess it would have a really, really beautiful view once you hit the top of the mountain, right?
Yeah, maybe not even, you don't even need to go to the top of the mountain. But at the top of the mountain, definitely some amazing views. I didn't know that it was the highest mountain in Taiwan. Man, I get to learn something. That is so awesome.
That's right.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。作者提到，在新冠肺炎疫情期间，他开始比较常去爬山。有一个他一直想去的就是玉山。玉山的海拔将近4000公尺，是台湾最高的山。他相信那边一定会有令人惊叹的景色。那 Karen 老师认为，喜欢爬山的人，终极目标也许是爬玉山。老师用到 ultimate 这个形容词 ，ultimate，ultimate 可以形容终极的、最终的。那单字 pandemic 则是表达疾病大流行。好，接入到课文中。
Okay, so continuing. On the first day of my first trip up Jade Mountain, I was surprised by how much easier the walk was than most of the other big hikes I had been on.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that the hiking trails are actually not that hard?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that.
Oh, the
The author is saying that. But there's no reason to doubt what he or she is saying. We just have to imagine that, yeah, I guess that was quite easy. Maybe it's a gentle slope to the top. You don't have to go straight up, maybe?
And that is what the author is saying right now. The paths were gentle and steady with few sudden steep slopes. Okay, so it sounds like quite an easy trail or easy path. So what does it mean when I say steady? And that is an adjective. The adjective steady describes something that is firmly fixed in position. If you have to climb up on your roof, you definitely want to have a steady ladder. Okay, so you're not going to fall. So steady, it doesn't go like, not very bumpy. It's not suddenly dropping.
It doesn't change a lot. Not a lot of variation. Just steady.
That's right. So for example, you can say there was a steady breeze all day, which kept us cool.
Oh, so it was
not
coming,
a lot of changes.
Yeah, it just kept coming and coming, not really windy one second
and then stops.
And then stops, a steady breeze. Okay. Continuing, my friends and I spent this day trekking through beautiful forests until we reached Payun Lodge, where we spent the night. Oh, well, that's kind of fun. You can go hiking, get to a place, and then stay in a lodge. And a lodge is kind of like a hotel.
That's right.
Basically, but it will have more of a mountain feeling to it. Maybe it's made out of wood or something like that. And maybe not as high class as some hotels would be, right? Yeah. So we have this vocabulary word trek. So they were trekking through the beautiful forests, which just means to travel or make one's way slowly and with difficulty. So you go slowly, but there is a little bit of difficulty with it. It's not just like a walk in the park, right? You are going up a mountain. So no matter what, we would call that a trek. So for example, we took a trek through the mountains near Taipei.
And that is using trek as a noun, right?
Right. You can use it as a noun, or if you use it as a verb, you could say, we went trekking through the mountains near Taipei. Right.
在攀登玉山的第一天，作者感到惊讶，这段路比他之前走过的其他高山要轻松得多。那文中用到 I was surprised by how much easier the walk was than…… 那我们这边要介绍 how 引导名词子句。好，那么 how 加形容词或副词加主词加动词，这样的名词子句表示某人事物有多怎么样。像 Beth is always talking about how wonderful her marriage is. Beth 老是在谈论她的婚姻有多么美好。那课文里面则是结合了比较级，它的句型是 how much 加上形容词比较级，加上第一个主词加 be 动词 than 加上第二个主词加 be 动词，去表达第一个主词比第二个主词更怎么样多少。好，那么 than 后面的 be 动词跟前面相同时是可以省略的。举例来说， I wonder how much more expensive this car is than that one. 我想知道这辆车比那一辆贵了多少。好，那作者提到步道和缓平稳，很少有突然的陡坡。那这一天，他跟朋友们跋涉穿越美丽的森林，直到抵达了这个排云山庄，他们在那边过夜。那单字 steady 是形容稳固的、稳定的。Shane 老师说，稳定的就是没有太多变动。老师用到 variation 这个字 ，variation，variation 表示变化、变动。还有单字 track， 它当动词表示长途跋涉，这个字也可以当名词来表达艰苦的行程或是长途跋涉的意思。那这边还有一个重点是 where 当关系副词，它就相当于介系词加 which， 可以引导形容词子句去修饰或补述说明表示地点的先行词。当先行词它是特定地点，我们要用非限定用法，用形容词子句去补述说明这个地点，这时 where 前面要加逗号。例如 Lisa wants to open a bakery in Ilan where she was born and brought up. Lisa 想在宜兰开一家面包店，那是她出生长大的地方。第二个，当先行词它是非特定地点时，我们就要用限定用法去限定它的范围咯。我们用形容词子句去修饰这个地点 ，where 的前面就不加逗号。例如 ，The bear was trapped in a cage where it could barely move. 那只熊被困在一个它几乎无法动弹的笼子里。好，接话课文中。
Okay, well, although I am not exactly a hiker, but it actually sounds not so difficult, and that's one thing I like about it.
Yeah, so it seems like for you, you just don't want to get too tired when you go hiking.
Yes, if I don't get too tired and I can still enjoy the amazing views, yeah, I would definitely like to give it a try.
Cool. All right, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
After a brief sleep in this lovely modern building, we rose while it was still dark and headed off toward the main peak. The second day's hike was much more demanding. Everything was covered in frost, and the wind was really strong. I have a fear of heights, but I had to overcome it to keep going to the summit. After a few hours, we made it. Reaching the top was very rewarding, but there was one problem. Mist was everywhere, and there were no views in any direction. So we decided we'd have to return to Jade Mountain in the future.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
So before the break, we were talking about hiking to Jade Mountain. So we have our author here who's sharing the experience of hiking to the top of Jade Mountain.
Right.
And surprisingly, the paths were actually very gentle and steady, only with a few sudden drops, right? Like slopes, it's steep slopes. So it doesn't sound very, very difficult. And the author actually spent a night in Payung Lodge, right?
Lodge, right.
Yeah, that's right. And then they could get some rest and continue hiking the next day.
So it's like a more than 1 day hike. That's some dedication to hike that much.
Yeah, for someone who really enjoys hiking.
Okay, so let's continue the story. After a brief sleep in this lovely modern building, we rose while it was still dark and headed off toward the main peak.
Wow. Wow, okay.
Okay, so it was a lovely modern lodge. That's nice to know. I'm starting to get a little bit interested in this now.
I think that will be quite comfortable, right? Although it's not as fancy as hotels, but it sounds like, like the lovely modern building. You can probably shower. It has nice beds.
But they got up before dark. I mean, before light. It was still dark outside.
I don't like getting up before the sunrise.
But at least it depends on what time of the year you're going. You imagine if it's summer, you can beat some of the heat.
True.
Yeah, maybe like that. Okay.
Well, let's continue. The second day's hike was much more demanding. Okay. So when you say something that's much more demanding, it's more difficult. It's more challenging, right?
Yeah, it requires more energy and effort. Right.
And everything was covered in frost. And the wind was really strong. Wow, so everything was covered in frost. So what does that mean? So frost, that is a noun. Frost is a thin layer of ice that forms when the air temperature drops below freezing. So for example, you can say, it was a cold morning and frost was everywhere.
Yeah, because the higher you get, the colder it gets. The air gets thinner and it gets colder. And
it sounds like it was even very, very windy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't sound very comfortable.
Sounds cold. Right.
作者他们在排云山庄短暂的睡一觉之后，天还没亮就往主峰出发。第二天的山路比较费力，所有的东西都有覆盖着一层霜，那风非常的强劲。Shane 老师很敬佩这些人愿意花2天的时间践行。老师用到 dedication 这个字 ，D-E-D-I-C-A-T-I-O-N。dedication 可以表达对某事物全心全意投入、奉献精神。那么 Karen 老师则用到 challenging， 就是把 challenge 后面去一加 ing， 那 challenging 可以形容有难度的、具有挑战性的。而课文单字 frost 它表示霜，在后面加上 y 变 frosty， 就是形容结霜的。好，接回到课文中。
Okay, so continuing. The author says, I have a fear of heights.
Uh-oh.
But I had to overcome it and keep going to the summit.
Wow, the author has a fear of heights, but yet the author is climbing the Jade Mountain.
Yeah, but the author had to overcome it. So to overcome something means to win against or defeat, or you could say to get over or past something. So if you have this fear, you need to get over it. You need to defeat this fear. So for example, Marlon overcame his injury and was soon able to play soccer again.
Ah, okay. And we're also looking at this word here, summit. And that is a noun. That is the highest point of something, especially the top of a mountain. For example, the summit was covered in beautiful white snow. I think Jade Mountain, you can probably see the same thing, right? Yeah. Since you're already seeing the frost. So when you climb all the way up to the summit, it would be even colder. Right?
Yeah, and actually have snow there. So cool.
Okay, well, let's continue. After a few hours, we made it. Reaching the top was very rewarding. Oh. Wow, okay, so after a few hours, okay, of hiking, they made it. That means they did it. They accomplished their goal.
Which felt very rewarding. Now, when you say something feels rewarding, you mean that it feels really good. It's kind of like when you get a reward for doing something like accomplishing a task or maybe, doing well in a test or some kind of a competition, you get a reward. In this situation, they're doing a very difficult hike. So you will have a feeling that is rewarding.
That's right.
So the example sentence would be, helping people in need is a very rewarding thing to do.
That's right. It makes you feel really good, right?
Right. Okay, so continuing. But there was one problem.
Okay.
Mist was everywhere. and there were no views in any direction. Oh,
so it's because the weather condition, right?
The weather conditions, you couldn't really see any of the views, which would be the best part. And mist is just kind of like clouds, basically, right? Like being stuck in clouds, you're like stuck in the mist, and
it's all white,
and you can't really see anything.
Oh no,
that's a bummer.
So we decided we'd have to return to Jade Mountain in the future. Okay, well, I guess that's a good idea because the whole point of climbing the Jade Mountain is because you want to enjoy the amazing view from the top. It's the highest mountain in Taiwan.
Absolutely.
作者接着写到他有惧高症，但他必须克服这件事，继续攀登到山顶。几个小时后，他们终于做到了，登顶感觉非常值得。那可惜到处都是雾，看不到风景。这时候 Shane 老师用到 bummer 这个字 ，B-U-M-M-E-R。bummer 可以表达令人不愉快的事，或者是带来不便的事。那其实，在口语里面，它就可以表达那种真讨厌、真糟糕的意思。好，单字 overcome 它可以表达克服、战胜。动词三态是 overcome、overcame、overcome。那么 summit 表示顶峰、山顶。我们也学一下 peak 这个字，它也可以表达顶峰、山峰或山顶。Rewarding 则是形容值得的、有意义的或是令人满足的。好，我们继续回到课文中。
Okay, well, at least they made it. You know, they made it to the top, you know, although they didn't get to see the views. This gives them another opportunity to go back, and this time they'll be even more prepared, and they should probably choose a time when they know the weather is going to be better.
That's true, and it will probably be easier next time because they have already done it.
That's right. Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today, but we will see you in day 2.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, I started to do more hiking. One place I had long wanted to visit was Jade Mountain. At almost 4,000 meters above sea level, it is the highest mountain in Taiwan, so I was sure it would have some amazing views. On the first day of my first trip up Jade Mountain, I was surprised by how much easier the walk was than most of the other big hikes I had been on. The paths were gentle and steady, with few sudden steep slopes. My friends and I spent this day trekking through beautiful forests until we reached Payun Lodge, where we spent the night. After a brief sleep in this lovely modern building, we rose while it was still dark and headed off toward the main peak. The second day's hike was much more demanding. Everything was covered in frost, and the wind was really strong. I have a fear of heights, but I had to overcome it to keep going to the summit. After a few hours, we made it. Reaching the top was very rewarding, but there was one problem. Mist was everywhere, and there were no views in any direction. So we decided we'd have to return to Jade Mountain in the future.
最后，我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。单字的部分有 steady 是形容词，表示稳固的、稳定的。Frost 是名词，表示霜、结霜的霜。Overcome 是动词，有克服、战胜的意思。Summit 表示顶峰、山顶是名词。Rewarding 则是形容值得的、有意义的或是令人满足的。那文法的部分，我们学到第一个 how 引导的名词子句，我们用 how 形容词或副词加主词加动词，是表达某人事物有多怎么样。那另外一个句型 how much 加形容词比较级。第一个主词加 be 动词 then， 第二个主词加 be 动词，则是表达第一个主词比第二个主词更怎么样多少。好，那第二个文法点我们学到 where 做关系副词的用法。那当先行词是特定地点，是用非限定用法 where 前面要加逗号。那当先行词是非特定地点，它是要用限定用法 where 的前面不加逗号。好，那么以上今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
I thought we were going camping. This looks more like a 5-star hotel.
Welcome to the world of glamping. Look, here we can enjoy the beauty of nature without sacrificing comfort.
Glamping. I've never heard that before. Is that like glamorous and camping put together?
Exactly. Look, right here we have a king-size bed, solar-powered lights, and a mini fridge over there.
That is incredible. And I was thinking we were going to be roughing it in like sleeping bags and a tent.
Oh no, my friend. We'll be stargazing on our plush pillows tonight. That's glamping for you.
Wow, I can't wait.
I know.
Hey everybody, today we're talking about the term glamping, which is a blend of glamorous and camping.
Glamping is a style of camping with amenities and, in some cases, resort-style services not usually associated with traditional camping.
It's designed for those who want to experience the outdoors without compromising a comfortable stay.
You can use it in a sentence like, after trying glamping for the first time, I don't think I can go back to regular camping.
Yeah, that's true.
Me.
Or, glamping lets you enjoy the beauty of nature with all the comforts of a hotel.
Striking a balance between luxury and the great outdoors, glamping truly offers the best of all worlds.
Precisely. And that's all for today. Happy glamping, everyone.
I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.